Hey guys, this is Joe, Justin, and Ian for VMP's Tuning Tuesday, episode 44. And Ian, do you kind of want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Ian Lehn. I founded and created BOOSTane, Octane Engineering. Here's two of the products that we offer right here. They're we consider them more than just an octane booster, but more of a race fuel alternative.
Can you drink this stuff?
You can't drink that stuff. I keep waiting for that phone call that somebody did that. We've had suggestions to make some sort of an energy drink. We just don't have a strong enough legal team yet.
Which one's the energy drink and which one's the octane booster?
Exactly.
You find out.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I just needed a little something to break the ice.
Yeah. No, it's a product that's designed essentially to transform regular pump fuel that you find at your local gas station to a race fuel equivalent as high as 116 octane, which is something that we're the only ones in the world that are capable of doing.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Joe?
I was just going to lead in with everything that's kind of been going on at VMP, any cars that we've used BOOSTane on recently that relevant to the topic of conversation.
You said you did a GT 500, right?
Yeah, we just had when did that video hit?
The Gen 3 GT 500?
I think it's been out for a week and a half or so.
Yeah.
And we did a similar video on a 5.4 liter GT 500 with our new Gen 3 VMP blower. And last time we used C16, but since we got hooked up with Ian at BOOSTane, we used BOOSTane on this 5.8 liter GT 500. Mm-hmm. And it worked well. It made the desired number.
Yeah, exactly.
It was 1 horsepower away from 800. 799 rear wheel horsepower, SAE with smoothing 5 to keep
just
the
like
internet.
all the people want.
Yeah,
to keep the internet happy.
You got to hit the magic 8 number, obviously.
Exactly.
But you said you did that with C16.
Yeah, my 2012 with the 5.4 and our Gen 3. I made 800 with C16, and actually that's a 5.4, and that begins to talk about an interesting difference between those two cars.
Mm-hmm.
The 5.4, it was my car, so it was fucking balls to the wall, 26 degrees of timing, a cold day, all the tricks. Mm-hmm. And we actually showed in the video the SE, STD, and uncorrected numbers.
Oh, really?
The uncorrected worked in our favor on that video, but on the 5.8 car, it was summer weather, 20 degrees of timing, and a little BOOSTane. So nice. we didn't push it nearly. We didn't have to push it as hard. It was a customer's car. Didn't want to get too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
When it's your own car, you can do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, that's cool.
Are we getting any questions starting to trickle in, Carrie?
Some questions are starting to come in. Everybody out there in La La Land, I don't have a mic this week, so if you can't hear me, just mention it and I'll speak up louder.
She's yelling at us right now.
Yeah. So Kelsey Wade is calling this Boost Juice.
I've heard that before.
That's nice.
It's good. As long as people know that it's not a juice that can be drank before in your car.
You told me it could be used as love bug repellent.
That's right. Yeah, it could be love bug repellent. For all of you in Florida.
I need that right now. Love bug repellent. Chris says, are there any differences between BOOSTane and Torco accelerator?
Oh man, that's that's the $1 million question.
Well, we noticed that right away, and I told you we've been using Torco at VMP for a long time. We usually have a can of it in the shop for all the shop cars when we go to the track and stuff. But we were starting to wonder about some of the negative qualities of Torco, and I don't want to get too focused on that, but. Yeah, tell us more about. Yeah,
that's probably the most common question that we always get. And when I actually developed the product, it was for a racing program. I was racing boats with my dad for a long time, and we were having trouble with race fuels. It was expensive. Everybody who's ever used race fuel knows that there's some difficulties to it. It's hard to transport, it's expensive, it's sometimes hard to find if it's not at the track or at the marina for that fact.
Something it affects cold start and even idle quality sometimes.
Yeah. There's a few things that can kind of go into it. So we started experimenting with octane boosters actually while I was still in school at the time. And it wasn't until we started seeing some of the negative side effects that kind of Justin mentioned with other octane boosters, that we realized that, hey, maybe we could do this a little bit better ourselves.
And people that are new to this, we always hear from customers, Joe, my plugs are orange, you know, with Torco. And then you get the customers that are like, 1 can of Torco is good. So I put in 2 cans, and now my plugs are fouled out or
Overblending, yeah.
So I've always recommended like Torco be used sparingly because of some of those things.
Yeah.
Moderation's your friend.
Yeah, more isn't always the best thing. And but those are the two main points that we kind of always ran into with products like Torco, is that either an octane booster doesn't make the octane that they're claiming, or it ends up fouling internal engine components. So we actually developed a proprietary carrier, a chelated carrier that keeps our active ingredients suspended in solution indefinitely. So what happens is you don't have to shake the can like a lot of other products. All the magic that's in the can stays in solution and in suspension, but not only in the can, but more importantly in your fuel tank. So when you do go to, you know, put your car away for a month or something like that, and then pull it out when it warms up, you don't have to worry about those active ingredients falling to the bottom and being pulled through the fuel system and clogging filters, fouling plugs, all of those crazy things. And that was an issue that we ran into when we first started testing other octane boosters, and we knew that it was going to be something that we wanted to solve when we developed our product. So that's our biggest difference from just the normal Torco and other products like that.
Can somebody go get a glass from the kitchen? I don't know that we can drink out of it after this, but
I'd throw it away. Make sure it's glass.
Right side above the sink. Yeah, because I mean, we would always look at these Torco cans and we would shake them up and try to mix up all the stuff in the bottom.
And you see the stuff kind of sitting at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I can see straight to the bottom of yours.
Yeah,
it's got a nice amber color. I'm not into beer, but that's, I guess, a thing.
And it looks good. Yeah, that's the problem. That's what I'm so nervous about, right? Like, please don't drink this.
One of the things I have a question about is from a tuning standpoint is, does the octane booster change the stoic point of the fuel?
No. So there are other additives out there that use alcohols, which are oxygenators to a fuel to gain octane. Especially, you know, leaning. I mean, you know well tuning that sometimes leaning it out is going to give you a little bit more power too, which is what some octane boosters utilize to gain performance. We don't use any oxygenators or anything else like that. So if you're going to blend with our product, you're not going to have to worry about you know, messing with stoic or lambda or anything else like that, because we didn't want people to have to figure out, you know, I'm only using this much. You know,
how much is this going to move my stoic point?
Yeah, and then I'm tuning using 114 octane using BOOSTane. I got to account for this much more stoic. So it's something that we didn't want to make as a variable that you guys had to try to figure out.
Okay.
It looks good. It looks like a beer. I'm so thirsty.
It has no head.
Yeah, that was perfect pour.
Except for that, you know, nice hydrocarbony smell.
Yeah. So nobody light a match right now. or we'll be all over the internet.
Yeah.
Hindsight being 2020, we're probably gonna have to get rid of that.
Yeah.
It kind of smells bad.
Yeah.
Here,
but in the good way.
Take this out to the shop.
Yeah, trust me, it's strong. So when you use it, make sure to use the red plug when you go put it away, especially if you throw it back in your car. You definitely don't want to.
I have a couple tuning questions in general, and then I have some more BOOSTane questions for coming in. So, Daniel Lopez says, slowly working to turn my S550 GT into something that will perform great on the street, but won't be too uncomfortable to drive. Wanted to know what suspension setup, front and rear, would you guys recommend?
BOOSTane suspension.
Yeah, I'll start making that.
Suspension, I mean, do things reasonably. If you throw any specific manufacturer's whole catalog at your car, you're probably going to have a bit more NVH than most people would desire from a street car. So start by finding the points in the suspension that offer the most amount of compliance during launching, and not necessarily eliminate that specific component, but replace the compliant part with a part that isn't as compliant. So usually you see guys doing like
subframe lockouts or subframe bushings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
End links, stuff like that. But I mean, depending on the power adder, if he's talking about putting a PD blower on, the tire is the first place I would start as opposed to suspension. Usually get the best feedback in terms of what you're able to achieve 60 foot going from a street tire to a drag radial or a bias ply tire. Just match it for your setup.
And you're pretty much going to want to run like a 17 by 10 in the rear. There's some options for a 15, but it's complicated.
And it gets very expensive very quickly.
Yeah, and the Mickey Thompson ET Street R, it's available on a 17, and it's actually a very, very good compound. That's what Rebecca runs that tire on her car instead of the Pro Radial, because the Pro is not class legal. Of course, she runs a 15-inch version, but I got to figure the 17's darn close in performance.
Exactly. So my suggestion would be to start with tires, find the weak link in terms of compliance of your suspension, and then incrementally work your way up till you're no longer comfortable and either back down or just find the setup that works for you and stick with that.
David Lindsay wants to know, has BOOSTane been tested, and is there any way that he could see dyno numbers?
Yes, yes. If you want to see any dyno testing, it's on the About section of our website. So we post a lot of dyno tests that our customers have put on there, and you can see we prefer doing something called a knock-to-knock test. We don't promote putting your vehicle into knock or anything else like that, but what we try to do is we'll do like a high test, a 93 or something like that. Put the vehicle on the dyno, push it kind of to the limit of what that fuel can handle before retarding detonation or anything else like that. And then we'll add a BOOSTane to it and kind of go through the same paces of adding timing and boost and things like that. So you can see before and after what our product can do over top of typical pump fuel. And we also do third-party testing. So we send all of our, whenever we blend in our warehouse, do a new run of a new manufacturing run, we'll send the batch out to a third-party testing facility down in Texas, because they love all their oil and fuel down there, and do a third-party accredited knock engine test to see the octane values to make sure that we're hitting the numbers, and we had that on there as well.
So from what I understand, as far as octane ratings go, there's a knock engine test and there's a chemical analysis as well, right?
Yeah, there's the most reliable is a knock engine.
Okay.
I know that we'll get the occasional customer that'll say, I bought this thing off of eBay that's from Russia, and if you dip it into the fuel, it tells you how much octane there is. It doesn't really work. It uses light refraction as a way, and I mean, you can change what the light refraction is in a solution by putting food coloring in it. And it might read 110 octane, but we know that that's not the truth, right?
I mean, like, yeah, a very base, a tool like that, I can see how it's not going to be able to take into account all the different chemical compositions that affect octane.
Yeah, it might work for gasoline because it knows all of the things that are going to be in that gasoline.
And pump gasoline.
Pump gasoline, yeah, pump fuel. But knock engine testing is probably going to be the best way to do it.
Because that's the knock engine's variable compression, and you basically change the compression until it knocks, and you back it off, and you come up with a number. Hey, could somebody
that's in
take
reference
this
to the single-cylinder engine
out to the shop?
The SAE testing.
See if Donnie can pour it back in the can with a little funnel.
Yeah. Or there's that super snake out there as well that might like it.
He's the owner of that car actually basically warehouses a C16, as I'm told, so he's probably going down that route, but we could see if he wants to go down the BOOSTane route.
We can always turn him to the dark side.
Exactly.
Bubba Blue wants to know what makes BOOSTane different or better from the other stuff on the market.
Cool.
I think we were covering a little bit of that earlier.
Covered that a little bit.
You covered that a little bit.
I mean, quite frankly, the stuff that you buy at like AutoZone or Pep Boys comes in a plastic bottle. It's probably not going to raise any value of octane. They use points and numbers and things like that. I've been told that 10 points equals one number. I don't even know, and this is kind of what I do for a living. We just put a mixing chart on the back of the can that tells you exactly the octane value that you're going to get. And you know, there are some products out there that do actually raise the effective octane of your fuel, but just be careful about some of the negative side effects that we talked about earlier, as far as settling out and fouling plugs. We did a lot of development to make sure that BOOSTane not only creates the octane that's going to help people like VMP Performance deliver power, but also the sustainability. If you're going to use it on a daily basis or in every tank fuel or tank full, you want to make sure that it's going to be something that's going to be reliable in your tank as well.
And for the sake of noting stuff, the octane rating on the back of here, this would be RON, MON, or AKI?
AKI.
Okay.
AKI.
So for international customers, keep in mind this is AKI, not...
It is AKI.
Okay.
But for international customers and everybody out there on the interwebs, we actually just released a new app that when you pick the country that you're located in, will actually adjust the mixing chart.
Awesome.
Based off of where you're located. So
forethought. I like forethought.
I've had a lot of customers that have asked about RON, which is research octane number, and then AKI is the average of MON and RON. But we have an app right now that will not only give you a recommended octane based off of your compression ratio, but also will help you blend the exact amount of BOOSTane that needs to go into your gasoline based off of your starting octane and desired octane. So we're trying to take some of the guesswork out of it.
And for everybody in the U.S., Europe and a lot of other areas, they go by the research number, which is higher. They call it 98. 95 and 98 in Europe is really 91 and 93 in the U.S. So that's, we actually, when we send out tunes, a lot of times we clear that up with people.
Yeah, I try to make it very clear that, hey, this is a 93 AKI file, AK like a 98 RON for some of our Arab, German, French, Spanish, and all that, all Eastern European.
We always have to be different.
Or Western European.
Inches and miles instead of centimeters and kilometers.
Exactly.
And AKI instead of RON.
We touched on this a little bit earlier, but the question did come in. So Justin Young says, I've used other brands in the past. This BOOSTane turned my plug gold too. And what causes that, if you know?
So, yeah, we did talk about this a little bit. You are going to have a little bit of a discoloration. It's basically the result of BOOSTane burning in the fuel. Just if you were to use lead or regular gasoline, you're going to have black from carbon or gray from lead. If anything's burning, there's going to be a bit of a residual left behind. With our product, the manganese is going to leave a little bit of a discoloration. The real question you're asking is, will the discoloration cause a problem with the performance of my vehicle or the performance of the plug or O2 sensors or something like that? And the answer is no with BOOSTane because of our carrier. We're able to keep our active ingredients suspended in solution, so you don't have to worry about it being pulled through the fuel system in high concentrations and causing issues. So we get that question all the time. I'd be surprised if we didn't get it again.
David Ray says, any BOOSTane dealers in Ontario, Canada? And on top of that, Joe says, where can you buy BOOSTane? So it's kind of twofold.
Yeah. We do have some distributors in Ontario. You can actually, if you download our app, we have a full list of all our distributors around the world. So you can definitely find that, and you can also buy it off of our website or Amazon as well. If you're up in Canada, so.
Chad says, I know this is a question outside your platform, but I have a 2.0 turbo car that has been struggling watt due to heat soak and the ECU pulling timing due to that heat. Would adding a can of BOOSTane to my tank a couple days before going to the track allow the ECU to take advantage of the additional octane and not pull the timing? So
you got a 2.0 turbo and you're heat soaking. Sometimes this gets a little bit tough because without being there and really looking at it, there's a lot of variables that kind of, you guys know, there's a ton of variables that go into it. We can help if the ECU is pulling timing. because of knock and heat in the engine, we can help reduce some of that, definitely. And by doing so, we might even lower the EGT and just lower the temps just a little bit and kind of help a little bit with the heat soaking. But I mean, yes, we will help out. Will we be a complete solution? Maybe not. I mean, I'm sure there's other solutions that need to be looked at as well.
If he's talking about a Ford-based ECU, it has an ACT retard function. So regardless of what the knock sensors are seeing, it's going to pull timing out based on that figure. But if for whatever reason it's not pulling quite enough out based on the ACT retard function, and it's still on that edge of knock or not, depending on what fuel he's using, you could potentially run more timing if, like, say the ACT retard function is pulling 3 degrees of timing at 170 degree air temp, and it needs to pull an additional 2 degrees in that region because the combustion process in and of itself isn't tolerant of that, like, air fuel at that timing with that specific fuel. You using a octane booster like BOOSTane may keep it off that limit that it's currently on from an octane standpoint, and help the car run more timing, but it's not going to cool the charge.
Yeah, it's not gonna solve the whole problem.
Exactly.
We might help a part of the equation, but we're not going to be the end-all solution.
And one of the things that that when we're tuning for higher octane, we make those ACT functions less aggressive, because now there's more octane to work with, and we don't have to trade off heat and temperature and everything. But if you're not tuning the car, you may not be able to realize that benefit.
Yes.
So we really need to have a tuner look at it and see what's going on with it, and be able to make a more educated, take a better approach to it.
So this is a question actually I have for you guys, because I mean, you guys are on the front lines doing a lot of the tuning, especially with Ford. Do you guys see that as more of a tuning issue today, just because of the smaller displacement, higher compression engines that are coming from the OEs? I mean, we're pulling way more power out of smaller displacement engines than we ever have. So these ECUs have these, I mean, the tables that are built into it are so hyper aggressive in protecting the motor that I just see a lot of people kind of running into walls, kind of the way this guy seems like he's
Well, the whole thing is that the OEMs are getting a lot better, or I shouldn't say better, but more, they're getting a stronger push to get as much power as possible out of the engines in every aspect possible, because in a way it helps with gas mileage and emissions.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times these setups that the OEMs are putting out are so close to that edge of what the octane supports already, that octane additives are really going to help, because they help raise that ceiling that basically the ECU is already running against stock.
Okay.
And that's why Ford has stuff like octane adjust ratios and stuff like that, because they want the calibration to be able to take advantage of all the octane that's available. And having that octane adjust ratio and tables like that and knock sensors allows it to come right up to the limit of what the fuel supports.
Yeah.
So the second that you add better quality fuel or a higher octane fuel, it's able to take advantage of it.
And we've actually seen that with some of our dyno testing, where we don't even do any manual tuning. We'll actually see it go over top of what it would do typically on like a 93.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the new 2018 Mustang and F-150 with the Coyote, it's now 12-to-1. 4 knock sensors. That puppy's pretty darn close to maxed out on 93.
Yeah.
Carrie, what were you?
Poor boy wants to know, would I be able to buy stock in BOOSTane?
Oh,
He's a regular, tunes in every week.
that's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll let you know when we.
When you go public?
Yeah, IPO. Yeah, I'll ring the bell and everything else like that. You can be up there with me.
Matthew wants to know, what is the unopened and opened shelf life for BOOSTane?
That's a good question. Because of our chelated carrier, we actually have a pretty hefty shelf life. Unopened, we've had product as old as 2 years that we've thrown on a dyno, and it's performed like it came right out of
a new package.
Yeah, right out of a new batch. Opened, it depends. We've got a plug that's built in there to help seal it up. The cap, it's all designed. The can itself has all been designed around maintaining the quality of the product. The plug, the little red plug, is kind of difficult to pull off or pull out by design because we want it to seal nice and tight. As long as you seal it back up, I would say 2 years, but I would be more conservative and say that if you kept it in a cool, dark place after using it once, a year shelf life. So a year open, 2 years unopened.
So when in terms of opened versus unopened, is the concern more so what's able to evaporate out if the can's not sealed, or is the concern the way that the ambient air, nitrogen, oxygen mixture affects the quality?
So it's not so much the air or anything else like that. I more or less am just, the engineer in me says that the average person on a daily isn't probably going to seal it as tight as the machines that we have at our bottling facility. And that's just me being overly conservative because I'd prefer to be on the safe side. And the other thing is our product is photosensitive. So long exposure to UV light is going to have an effect on the product to some degree. So again, just being overly conservative, maybe a ray of light comes through your garage and bounces into the can and lowers the shelf life a little bit. Again, I'm just being
By the grace of God,
just being super safe about it. But
in regards to your small little snippet there of engineering background, just so that the people are aware, why you kind of like, you're not just like a marketing guy.
Yeah.
What's your background
so
for this stuff that gives you kind of like a professional standpoint?
Yeah,
to know what you're
why
about?
you should listen to me, basically.
Exactly.
I'm a terrible marketer, actually. I'm super nervous up here. I'm actually I'm an engineer by design. I went to Georgia Tech to get my mechanical engineering degree. I raced all my life with my old man. Just ran the Baja 1000 last year. 40 years after he ran it, we're kind of a racing family. And it was actually in my final year at Georgia Tech, I was getting my senior exit thesis for my engineering degree. Needed a project. My dad was having difficulty with fuel because race boats use a whole lot of fuel when they're going across the water. And I thought I might be able to use the opportunity and, quite honestly, the free facilities at my university to do a lot of the initial testing and development for our product. So this very much comes, BOOSTane is a product and a company that was born very much out of kind of the passion for the sport. I mean, it came out of racing, designed and developed by engineers. Marketing was probably the last part of our equation.
It's kind of like hey, I need this. Hey, I did this for school. Hey, I could sell this.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, man, I'm making this for a whole lot of people right now. Maybe I should start charging for it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it went. Yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Quick comment just came in, and it's from Dirty D. I think it's worth reading. It says, "Thank you for hosting this type of forum. It's awesome that you spend the time helping and educating the community." He says, "It's hard for me to tune in live most of the time with work and West Coast time, but I always watch the show after I get home."
Nice, nice.
Kind of a nice comment.
That's good to hear, Dirty D.
That's a feel good. That's a feel good from a great name.
And then David says, "Me and 4 other techs are watching at work right now."
Nice.
Pressure's on.
And then Peyton Lucas, another regular, says, "Are there any regulations on shipping BOOSTane?"
No. We can't ship via air, so don't. If you can't find the overnight option on shipping, there's a good reason. They don't really want combustible products on the planes.
Air.
Yeah, in the air. But we ship UPS ground anywhere in the continental U.S. and
we're keeping it in stock here at BMP, and we ship it out ground. I think up to 5 gallons you can ship ground.
Yeah. Anything over. Yeah, if you want a 55-gallon drum, maybe give us a call and
Some
figure.
freight.
So, yeah. UPS might be a little bit shocked when the guy comes. Pick that up.
So Syndicate Yosef says, "Hi, I have an 03 Cobra with a 2.7 pulley and full bolt-on. It's tuned for 100 octane from you guys. Would it help if I added BOOSTane and get a new tune because I can't get any E85 around me for more power?
Well, that's kind of a great question because it sounds like he's already got a 100 octane tune.
Yeah, my question to him would be, did we set it up for a 100 octane mix with a additive, or did we set it up for a specific race fuel for 100 octane that has a different stoic? But I'd say globally speaking, if you're talking about mixing a 93 octane with an additive like BOOSTane, that the tune file that you already have for 100 octane, we can look at a bit more closely and see if there's anything more we're willing to do with it, since we know that it's going to be BOOSTane, as opposed to just kind of assuming you're using some of the off-the-shelf products that are available to mix to 100 octane.
Mark 303 Murphy says, do you have the specific gravity and RVP of BOOSTane, or how would it affect the variability of this on pump gas?
So actually, when we were developing the product, we kept specific gravity in mind. We're again, because we chose not to use certain oxygenators to kind of to make the numbers that we do. We kind of went the hard route and made sure to maintain our specific gravity very, very closely to that of gasoline. So not only does that help you guys from a tuning standpoint with specific gravity, but it also helps with the propagation through the fuel tank. So when you pour the product in, we have customers that sometimes will fill up at the gas station and then add the product, and then we'll call and go, oh my gosh, is it gonna mix into my fuel, or is it just gonna sit at the top? And actually, because of the way we designed it, it will mix itself into the fuel and propagate through.
That's another one. Somebody kind of asked earlier, if they needed to put it in a couple days before they went to the track. Joe, I think we're seeing about one dyno pull for a fuel change or a fuel additive to mix it.
Yeah, it really depends on how much fuel the car is consuming during a dyno pull. Like a naturally aspirated car is not going to consume as much fuel at wide open throttle as a boosted car. But I've been telling people pretty globally, travel about 25 miles before swapping tunes when you're mixing in, like even if you're switching from E85 to a regular fuel, we account for about a gallon and a little over a gallon in the rails and the lines. Most of these cars get under 25 miles to a gallon for the people that are driving them. So you should be able to pull the stuff that is recently added to the tank all the way through the rails and into the injector by about 25 miles.
Yeah, I mean, that's the worst case for big lines, big rails, all that stuff. But we see it come in pretty quick on the dyno.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've done tests where we don't even pull the vehicle off the dyno and just run the recirculating, the fuel pump, and it seems to do fine.
Yeah, if you had a return fuel system with the regulator mounted close to the engine and the rails,
pretty close.
Then you're talking quarter of a gallon, if that you have to burn through.
Syndicate Yourself, who just had the question about whether or not he needed a new tune, and you were asking, it's 100 octane from a station is what the tune was that you did for him.
Okay.
So that's probably gonna work pretty good with BOOSTane, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll be honest, the Cobra with the 2.7, it's going to benefit from it, but it's not a real hot setup that needs a ton of octane.
Yeah, unless he's talking 2.7 with a TVS. If he's talking 2.7 with an Eaton, I mean, just on decent quality 93, you can get pretty close to what's available in terms of power.
Yeah.
You can usually get 15, 20 horsepower more out of a race gas or 100 octane.
Yeah. And less power loss when you heat soak because we don't have to pull as much timing.
Exactly.
Air temp.
Yeah.
Wile Coyote, a regular, says, if I bought a case today via the website, how long would a tune revision take? Thanks.
For you, maybe we'll make it happen a little quicker.
Yeah. Tune revisions are what we quote as being 5 to 7 business days. I find that a lot more times than not lately, it's closer to that less than 5 business days time, unless it's an overly complicated revision for, like, say you're going naturally aspirated to blower, or you threw a centrifugal supercharger on with cam, something that's a bit what I'd consider higher level. Whereas the low-hanging fruit tends to go out the door pretty quick.
I mean, we've really gotten our tune lead times down, added a bunch of staff. Everything's going pretty good in the tuning department, right, Joe?
Yes, sir.
He also added in that he has a 16 GT with a Roush Phase 2 supercharger. Which specific BOOSTane should he add to his cart? 93 octane fuel only.
Well, I know that car's going to benefit from it a lot, but the premium versus the professional.
Yeah.
You want to talk to us a little bit more about that, Ian?
Yeah. So the professional is typically designed for the higher octane values. It's the heavy hitter. It's the one that goes all the way up to 116 octane.
And you get twice the product here.
Yeah. So this is a 32 ounce a quart versus the 16 ounce premium. But the premium only is designed to go up to right around 100 octane. Basically, what we tried to do with the premium is make it a little bit more user friendly. For the folks that are trying to get the lower octane, you'd have to use such a little amount of professional that maybe at the gas station it might be a little difficult to measure out that little bit. And there is such a thing. I want to go on record in saying this, even though we would sell more if people would just pour a bunch in, there is too much of a good thing. There is over-octaning. You can change the flame propagation enough to where you'll lose power for the life of that tank.
And I just want to add, somebody that's been using similar products for years, like this tends to fall over in your car. Like this fits in your cup holder.
Yeah.
You wedge it in the spare tire well, it stays upright, you don't have to worry about it spilling. I mean, we talked about how well sealed they are, but still freaks me out to have it rolling around.
It's the truth.
So
it's the truth.
And in 2011, Ford introduced the capless fuel filler. No, has it been around longer than that now? Was it 20?
I want to say it was earlier on F-150, like 2010 on F-150.
2010.
Yeah, and 2010 on Mustang too.
So you need that little white thing from the trunk. It's the perfect size to open up the fuel neck, and then I mean, it's a very, very small funnel, essentially, and this pours right in there.
Yeah. Some of our customers affectionately call it the Shiwi.
The Shiwi?
It's a product on Amazon if you're interested.
I never knew that.
Yeah. I have successfully taken a conventional funnel and a screwdriver or a key and opened up the capless fuel filler when I haven't had the special...
Caught in a pinch?
Ford one, yeah.
Yeah, when you got to.
Peyton wants to know, can you run 91 octane tune with BOOSTane loaded into the car and not have to run BOOSTane overtime every time you drive it? Or would you need two different tunes?
That's kind of a confusing question.
We can't treat your engine with BOOSTane and add, it's not like an inoculation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going to run a tune that's set up for BOOSTane, you have to run it every time that you're going to be running BOOSTane.
Yeah.
So, that came out right?
Yeah,
I think so like if you want a tune file that is more aggressive, you have to run the BOOSTane in the tank in order to take advantage of that and do it safely.
And we've had customers in the past that'll have two tunes basically. The Monday through Friday grocery getting tune where it's a 93 or maybe a 95 and they're just using a little bit, and then the weekend warrior part where they'll Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
The trips to Mexico, as they refer to them.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but just make sure that you're obviously following these guys with whatever the tune that is that they set up, whatever that octane is that they're telling you to use, and then just follow along with the mixing chart on the back, and we'll be able to do that. But
well, let me ask you something else too, Ian, and this might be along the lines, might help this customer, is we've got a lot of West Coast people that are on 91, and really west of the Mississippi is where 91 starts.
Yeah.
We have found that several degrees of timing and a decent amount of horsepower between 91 and 93. Good Florida, Texas 93 makes pretty good power. If those people want to run a 93 tune on 91, is that something they can do with your BOOSTane product?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a big contingency west of the Mississippi. We're spoiled over here with the 93 that we have. There's a large demographic of customers that use our product, especially the premium product, to just get up to that 93 and have that restoring of lost power because they can only get 91. And I even recommend that maybe they blend to like a 94 or a 95 just to have, two numbers of, two more octane numbers
of
wiggle room, right? Because like we were talking about earlier today, depending on the gas station that you go to, if it's not one that's has a lot of traffic, it might not have the turnover of fuel in the tanks underground. And so you might not be even getting 91. You know, we tested it where it's 90. You know?
I had one of 2013 GT500 sit for about a month on a tank at 93. Go out, romp on it, ping city.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
So how much of this would they need to use to bring 91 up to 93, 95? And the Mustang's got a 15-gallon tank.
Yeah. I mean, if you were going to go from like 91 to a 95, I mean, this one can is gonna roughly treat 50 gallons. So depending on the size of your tank, let's just say if you had a 20-gallon tank, I mean, you're gonna get 2.5 tanks
2.5. So
out of this.
Just kind of split the can.
Yeah,
you know, into half
if you did a half, I mean, now you're looking at probably something closer to a 96 octane, which is still, you know, that 2 or 3 points is fine. You know, I hate saying points or numbers; it's just easier to say, but it's still okay. What's not okay is being tuned for a 93 and trying to use 103. You know, that's you don't want to go way overboard. So do your best to try to split the can. Or
and that's something I found is we'll have a lot of customers say, oh, well, you know, I use Torco in it, but just tune it for 93. Well, you're spending the money on additive and you're mixing it to a decent ratio. Let us know and we can really give you a tune that's going to perform the best for the situation. There's nothing worse than vagueness.
And if I were those people that are doing that, it's like if you're using it to add 2 or 3 octane points, okay, whatever, feel free, because that gives you the wiggle room of bad quality fuel to good quality fuel.
Yeah.
But if you're mixing it to the ratios of 93 to bring it up over 100,
just reach
out to us. We'll help you out.
Way better tune, because you would not believe how much leeway a whole can buys us tuning wise. I mean,
especially on the hit.
The torque down low and then everything up top. I mean, I think the GT500 video around 750 wheel, we started to depart from 93 and went to BOOSTane because, you know, we could tolerate more boost and we could run more timing to make more power.
Optimize it if you have it.
Exactly.
We have about 13 minutes, and I have a whole bunch of questions.
Okay, so we'll hammer through questions.
I mean, we got
speed rounds.
We got special guests, so if we need to stay a little late, we can. It's not too big of a deal.
Before I get to the questions, apparently Jason Hager has a thing for your beard, Joe.
Oh man.
He says you're making his pants tight.
We gotta braid our beards together.
No, he's mine.
You should see Johnny's beard. Johnny's hiding back there. He's the king.
That was the
Jesse says, what kind of octane increases can you expect from a can of BOOSTane using 87, 93, etc.?
So it all depends on what you want, right? I mean, this is designed to go to as high as 100 octane, and this is designed to go to 116 octane. So if you download our app or look at the mixing chart on our website or the mixing chart on the back of the can.
Do we have this, Chris, do we have a picture of the mixing chart?
If I could interject a little bit here, I'd say that if I was going to be mixing octane booster in, I would prefer to start at the highest octane I have available easily at a pump instead of starting with 87 trying to bump it up. I feel like that's going to be like you're taking 3 steps back and 3 steps forward. It's like
it's
start
true.
at the higher octane.
Listen, if I could make if I could make 93 cheaper than the gas stations, I'd own a bunch of gas stations. So yeah, you're not going to beat the system by starting with 87 and trying to blend to 93. Start with the highest octane available. Follow our mixing chart on the can, the website, or on our app that we just released, and we'll be able to get you whatever octane that you want from the number you start with up to 116.
Nice.
I'm going to bring this up only because we figured it probably would. Mod Motor Mafia says, what do you think about the Florida company that will have to pay more than $6 million in fines for violating the Clean Air Act?
As far as I'm aware, they're not paying $6 million. They're paying $300,000 was the fine I saw.
$300,000, less than $1 per violation. It's something that's been going on in the industry for probably several years now.
We've known for about 3 years that this was all going to be coming.
Yeah, it's really going to separate the people that know what they're doing from the people that don't know what they're doing, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I know that we've had people complain before that we wouldn't do this or wouldn't do that, and this is, to the general public, now you know why. The information's out there. The Department of Justice released a thing this morning or late last night on it. This is what we've been talking about for this long.
This is why we don't, we don't make cars pass emissions, because that's illegal to defeat those systems that are in there from the factory. The auto manufacturers had to have that to be able to produce and sell cars in America. So the government gets pissed off when you disable it. And we enjoy what we do, and we want to still be able to do it. So it's important that tuning be used in a
compliance,
legal fashion, because we can still make a lot of horsepower.
Still make a ton of power.
Yeah,
and I mean, CARB, the California Air Research Board out west has been doing this for a lot longer too. I mean, cracking down. So it's a real thing.
Yeah. That, and if you guys want us to talk about that topic a bit more, let us know in the comments. We might be able to dedicate an episode to that.
Yeah, definitely. Like Joe said, let us know in the comments, because it's definitely a hot topic in the industry.
Mike Hunt wants to know, how well does BOOSTane mix versus other octane boosters? For example, returnless fuel system, using have to idle a while until mix hits fuel rails.
I would say extremely well, right? Based on our experiences.
Yeah, and I'd say I wouldn't idle it for a while, because that's going to take forever. Just go drive it down the road on your what we'll call base file, and then swap over to the
our specific gravity and our carrier are one of the designs that allow it to propagate through your fuel tank. So if you pour it in, even after filling up with the gas, the gasoline, by the time you take a left and a right and start going down the road, it's going to be pretty well blended into the fuel.
Just act normal.
Just act normal. Be cool.
We discussed this a little bit earlier, but since people tune in at all different stages of the show, David says, does it affect injector wear?
Does it affect injector wear? No, I mean, like we kind of discussed a little bit more, you're still going to have a little bit of that residue that comes from burning our product in your fuel. But again, the question, I mean, that's a good question. The discoloration is still going to be there, but you're not going to have the negative side effects that a lot of other octane boosters have kind of created that negative connotation around.
So essentially nothing in there is really necessarily caustic or magnetic to where it be picked up by an injector or
that's gonna
deposit itself on an injector.
It's going to affect it. Yeah, no, you're going to have the color, but it's designed not to have that buildup that a lot of products in the past have had to deal with and have hurt people in the past with.
Nick Matthews says that he's been using BOOSTane for 100 octane tune for over a year now, and he loves it.
Nice.
Well, there's the long-term test chime in.
William says, isn't it true BOOSTane was inspired from your time in rugby, and will this help my Prius?
Who asked that?
William Hugh,
H-U-I-E. That's funny. I designed it to run faster in rugby, and it'll do great on your Prius.
Chris says, on the BOOSTane website, when using the octane calculator, it asks for current horsepower. Do you put in rear wheel horsepower or horsepower at the crank? Yeah,
so that was, we're actually getting, that brings a lot of questions into, it's more of an estimation. We based the horsepower gain off of, we did an optimized test using a twin turbo vehicle on a dyno. That's kind of like a best case scenario. It's not going to affect the octane that gets calculated, so you can put anything in there that you really want. But
so that's more so for the horsepower estimation for potential gain?
Potential gain, if you were to put it on a dyno, bring it to you guys and let you guys work your magic along with the octane that we're able to deliver. But
exactly.
Yeah.
Gregory says, how does BOOSTane compare to E85?
I get that question a whole lot. If you're just going to boil it down to performance based, because they're two completely different things, right? I mean,
Pepsi and Coke.
It's Pepsi and like vodka. Yeah,
that's a much better.
we're going to get you the same. If you're looking for performance, and octane is the number that you're kind of basing that off of, we're going to be able to give you the same octane values that E85 is able to produce. The one thing that we don't have that E85 does is that latent heat of evaporation that alcohol causes. That's going to cool the charge temperature down a little bit, but we more than make up for that with being able to offer you a higher octane. But the thing that I think that we do over E85 is the convenience and reliability is way over the top of E85. There's not an E85 station anywhere near where I live. I'd have to drive probably 30 miles to the next city to be able to fill up. So that's a 60-mile round trip to get one tank of E85. There's often differences between summer and winter blends with E85, unless you're buying it by the 55-gallon drum. And even when you have it, say you do have an E85 station near you and it's convenient, you still have to change injectors, fuel lines. You have to make sure that you don't let it sit in your tank for too long, or because it being hygroscopic, it's going to absorb water out of the atmosphere and phase separate, which causes a myriad of problems in your fuel system as well. So I think that, like we said, it's Pepsi and vodka, you know, but everybody has a preference.
So somebody asked us on a previous show if you can use your product with E85.
Yeah, I love that question.
Mixing oil and vinegar?
Yeah, it's kind of like mixing oil and vinegar. I have some customers that use our proprietary carrier to stabilize some of that phase separation that happens with E85. And then we still are going to give a little bit of that octane bump. However, the engineer in me, I can't tell you what that ratio is because we haven't done the testing. I haven't taken it into a lab. We don't have that much of a demand for people that are using our product with E85. So, you know, there are some people out on some forums that have done it themselves with some success, but I can't tell you what I would do because I've never really tested it myself.
Greg says he's got a 15 Mustang GT with Edelbrock 2650 kit on 93 octane, located in New Jersey. What would a third of a bottle of Professional per tank equal?
So a third of a bottle to 15 gallons. You're talking, would that be?
Yeah, I mean that's
11 ounces almost to 15 gallons.
To 15. I mean, you're gonna have that's. And he said 93, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see. If it's gonna be a much.
Be around 100, right? A little more than.
Well, it's gonna be you're gonna be right around from 93. You'll probably be looking at about a 98, 99 is what you'd be looking at.
Let's see here. I'm trying to make sure we get all the BOOSTane.
But with that guy that just asked what a third of a bottle would get over top of 93, make sure that your vehicle needs 98. You know, we were talking about that earlier. Just pouring in, you know, this product, while it's more affordable and convenient than race fuel, it's still not cheap. You know, we use a lot of, you know, very strong, you know, there's a lot of strong chemicals in our formula. It's not cheap. So don't just be pouring it in because you like the smell, you know, which we found out earlier is pretty strong. You know, that's why you want to talk to people like VMP to make sure that you're optimizing that 98 octane and getting the most out of already all the work that you've put into the vehicle. And
just so you're familiar with kind of the background of the Ford side of things, any 2010 up Mustang has knock sensors. So depending on how the tune file is configured for this guy's Edelbrock supercharger, say his tuner's calling out 17 degrees of base timing for 93, but the tuner's allowing it to add up to 3 more degrees of timing if it sees that the octane will support it. He could stand to gain some, but if his tuner's kind of locked in timing for a specific fuel, then like you said, adding in the octane booster isn't really going to do anything other than add a little bit of safety margin. So it's Like you had alluded to again, it's probably a conversation better suited for him and his tuner, whether that's us or someone else.
Yeah.
Just to see if there's anything the tuner can do on their side of things to optimize the setup for the fuel quality.
Because there's tables that have ceilings to them.
Exactly.
And we want to make sure that, you know,
those ceilings allow for wiggle room of added octane.
Exactly.
A couple people are coming on and they're saying, please do the testing for E85. They'd like to know.
All right. I like being an engineer. I can tell the marketing people that I have to be an engineer again, so I can do that.
Colin's asking if you poured like 5 gallons of BOOSTane in an empty tank, would the car run?
Yeah, probably not real well, to be completely honest. I wouldn't recommend that.
So what you're saying is BOOSTane isn't a race fuel in and of itself.
Yeah, it is not a race fuel in and of itself.
But what's the octane of the stuff in here?
It's unicorn horn. Yeah,
magic and rainbows come out when you pour it.
Exactly. Yeah, don't pour it in. Don't pour just a 5 gallon. Your car is not gonna like all of a sudden sprout wings and fly away.
DJ says he needs some of this. Will you have any at the NMRA in Bowling Green to sell this weekend?
We're actually going to Ducks Race in South Georgia, so we will not be at Bowling Green.
Breaking their hearts, Justin.
I know, but you can order some from our website.
Yeah.
And it'll ship out from Florida.
It'll be there probably before Bowling Green happens.
Yeah.
Dalton says, do you feel any need to any type of testing for the quality of pump fuel before adding BOOSTane to ensure the fuel you're adding to is up to par? Talking about in the lower 48.
Yeah, we've done that testing before, and it's so variable from parts of the country, time of the year, that it would be nearly impossible for us just to go around and test every gas station and anything like that. What I do recommend for a lot of our customers is if you're using our product, maybe pick a gas station that's most convenient to you and kind of tune based off of that fuel and our product. And if you have to fill up at another gas station, you can always add a little bit extra to have that level of insurance. It's going to be a lot more. It's going to be a lot cheaper to do it that way than you getting a gallon of gas and sending it down to Texas and getting it knock engine tested.
We always try to use the same gas station for the shop vehicles and customer vehicles that are here.
Yeah. And like Ian said earlier, one of the big things with gas stations is turnover. So when you're picking a gas station to use, try and get with your buddies and see where everyone else is going too. Yeah. Because if you have 10 guys filling up with 15 gallons of 93 every week at the same place, you're going to get some decent turnover from a place like that.
And there's going to be fresh gas getting delivered.
And I just want to add something. If you notice, in Florida, we have 93, but the budget gas stations have 92.
Yeah, like some of the Wawas out there are 92 only.
Racetrack, the wholesale clubs. So to me, that's a red flag. Don't fill your car up with 92 if your state has 93.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give you that. And if you can find non-ethanol, even if it's 90, that's my personal favorite.
So we were talking about that early. If you have your product, 90 non-ethanol is better.
It takes out that variable factor of ethanol.
But if you were not using your product, you still want to use the highest octane available at the pump. Because we have customers ask that from time to time. Well, I can get 91 non-ethanol or 93 with ethanol.
Yeah, and a lot of it's like 90 non-ethanol down here, unless you go to like a marina to get like 93 non-ethanol.
Yeah, it's very hard to find 93 non-ethanol. So we'd rather. If you don't have some of this, I'd rather see you use the highest octane that's available at the pump.
Even if it is E10.
Yeah.
Poor Boy says he thinks it's really cool that BOOSTane was your thesis.
I got an A. I got an A on it.
BOOSTane was your thesis? He's like, cool. Let's see here. We have some non-BOOSTane questions. Do we want to go ahead and hit on some of those?
Yeah, we can hit them.
We can hit a couple.
Okay. Eric says, what supporting mods do you recommend from switching from an NA setup to nitrous? Car is a 1250, has a Cobra jet setup with twin 65, long tubes, and dumped exhaust. Currently on 93. Well,
it probably already has bigger injectors. Really, just the big thing is having a proper nitrous setup. Window switch, RPM switch. Well, window switch is an RPM switch. Usually they come in combination with a watt switch, and then bottle heater.
Marina says, hello, Ian from BOOSTane, Russia.
Oh, hello. What time is it there?
Right? Slabshack says, what was the fuel system on the GT500?
Slabshack, the 1314 was FIC 1000s and twin VMP boosters.
Ford Bug 77 says, I have a 19 Bullitt Mustang with a Roush supercharger meant for non-Bullitt Roush. Doesn't have a calibration. He says, I need this thing tuned. Can you tune it?
Part of me wants to tell you yes. The other part of me doesn't know specifically what Ford changed with a Bullitt calibration versus a standard calibration that may cause some compatibility issues when flashing it with a Roush cal. We don't currently have a tune file separate of basing it off of a stock Roush cal.
Yeah, it might be one of those things we might want to try to see in person and get with the engineers at Roush. We had a car like that here recently. Somebody comes to you with all these problems they say they can't fix with their own tuners and stuff, you know. But just bring the car to us. And they shipped the car to us and it shipped back out today.
Yeah, exactly. And something to be noted is that Roush adds map sensors where the factory setup it's only MAF. So in order to get that functioning properly, you're almost going to have to go to a Roush cal or convert it back to a MAF-based setup.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
We'd love to help you get it figured out, but we'll need the car.
Yeah.
Zachary says he has a 16 F-150 5.0 and a Roush Cold Air and a 5-star tuning tune. Will a ported 18 intake manifold and a 90mm throttle body work with my truck?
I'd say get with 5-star. They should both physically bolt onto your truck, but the 90mm throttle body may or may not be something that 5-star would support from a tuning standpoint. I know that globally speaking, most of the 90mm throttle bodies I see out there don't really legitimately gain any power on the dyno, at least not based on what I've seen. So take that with a grain of salt as to whether or not you actually spend money on that. I'd say for most setups out there, a stock throttle body is just fine in terms of 15, 17 F-150 with an aftermarket intake manifold.
Dirty D says, I've recently seen that Roush and Whipple recommend 550 oil instead of 520. What are your thoughts and recommendations? Would thicker oil help protect with an extra layer of protection against the vibration on OPG? Or would the thicker oil make OPG work harder and increase chance of failure?
For, I'd say probably 2 or 3 years now, I've recommended that if you have a blower application car running the Ford Motorcraft 550 or the equivalent, as opposed to a 520.
That recommendation started with the Ford GT, continued on GT500, continued through the Cobra jet program and the Illuminator, and it's just, I think it's one of those things that can't hurt.
Yeah, that, and it's one of those things where it's like, all right, so Ford, in all of their engineering wisdom and fanciness, has decided that 5W50 is the best oil that they want to put in them for the application. It's like if you translate some of that into what you do, if you're being aggressive with the car, doing similar modifications to what they did, where they're running 550, it may be a good idea for you to do the same thing.
Travis says, what mileage range would replacing spark plugs as well as coil packs on a 15 Mustang GT? Right now, I'm a little over 53,500 miles.
Never replace the coil packs.
Yeah, unless you have an issue with a coil pack, don't worry about replacing it.
Yeah.
I'd say plugs on a naturally aspirated setup every 25 to 45,000 miles, depending on what exactly you're doing with the car.
You could go one step colder while you're at it. I mean, we had Brisk RR 14YS in the F-150, and I think we got 20,000 miles out of them easily.
Yeah, and that truck is not driven too gently all the time.
We carry those plugs.
Eli says, chasing false knock on my car, a 13 manual Pro Charge car. What are some common locations that cause false knock that you guys have seen?
Charge piping on the Pro Chargers is a pretty well-known issue in terms of false knock. So I would start there.
Having a gearbox bolted to the cylinder head
is also pretty known to make some noise, especially when people have the option of a helical cut gear set and a straight cut gear set. And they're like, oh, I want it to make more noise, so I sound like a Pro Charge B-Cam F-body.
I mean, like, chasing
F-body, Fox body.
Chasing false knock can be like really frustrating because it could be totally false or it could be totally real.
Yeah, be sure.
And the computer's just listening for noise that it's trying to filter through an algorithm and determine whether it's knock or not. So the new Mustang has 4 knock sensors. They're continuing to improve their technology.
Yep.
The old one only has 2.
When in doubt, more knock sensors.
Yeah.
Poor Boy says, crazy question, have you done a dyno run using 87 with BOOSTane?
I have not. I don't know if Justin has.
We're not going to beat the gas station. We haven't. We haven't tried that, like Ian said.
Yeah, yeah. We have some people that are in a little bit more rural areas that maybe only get 87 or 89 and run performance tunes, whether it's a 93 or a 100 octane tune. And
it's all about that mixture ratio?
Yeah, it's just following the ratio. We'll get you there. Just follow the math on the back of the can or with the app and listen to what octane you need from these guys. But 87 or 93, it'll still give it to you.
Mustang Guru says, good afternoon. My car is boosted, 15 Roush RS3. Is this additive safe for the cats? I just jumped in here, not sure if it was covered yet.
Yeah. No, again, yes. I mean, it's gonna be fine to run with, a lot of the common negative connotations that surround cats, O2 sensors, plugs, stuff like that. You're gonna have the discoloration, but I mean, we've had a few guys on here that have been using it for the one guy came on and said a year, I think, right?
There's actually a couple that have chimed in.
Yeah, that have no issues. The one thing that I do say to kind of I guess is a little caveat is if you are running our product, because we do get you the higher octane up to 116. When you get above 103, you have to treat that fuel like it is just that race fuel. And if you're going to be running 103 octane or 105, 110, any of those equivalents, you need to maintain your vehicle as such. I mean, making sure to monitor and maintain those types of internal components, because you're essentially running race fuel through a vehicle that from the OEM wasn't designed to run race fuel. Now below 103 octane, I run it on all of my vehicles. I've tuned all of my daily drivers to 100 octane, and they've been loving it for years. So I haven't had any issues.
He came back with a second question and says, does BOOSTane have MMT in it as well?
That is one of our active ingredients, is a small percentage of it. And we don't use alcohol either. I know we talked about that as well, and that's another common question, if it messes with specific gravity or stoic or anything like that.
DMX Mike says, if I put a supercharger on my 15 Mustang GT, will it still have rev match on the downshift?
If you specifically request that, we can accommodate that, but in the what we'll call base file, we do not maintain rev match downshift on automatic 1517 GT.
Matt wants to know if we can test an 18 F-150 intake versus a 2018 GT intake. I'm looking to put an 18 GT intake on my F-150.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, I'd say it's just a matter of demand, really. The more people that want us to do it, the faster something like that gets done, and the more likely that something like that gets done.
Yeah.
Mustang Guru came back and said thanks for the information on the BOOSTane.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So, I guess Gon's in 60 seconds. Sorry, some of these names sometimes trying to read them. Says, will this cause you to go through spark plugs? I've had an issue with other additives, so I switched to race gas. I have a false knock issue, so I run them with desensitized at the track. I would like to have the insurance, is what he says. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running it for insurance, you're probably only going a few numbers up. I wouldn't worry about the life cycle of the plugs more than what these guys are telling you to do for performance maintenance and things like that.
Yeah, and I'd say as long as you're using it in moderation and not over mixing it, I don't really ever see issues with plugs fouling.
Yeah.
Unless you're going 2-3 cans to a half tank of fuel.
Yeah. Again, what it comes down to is I think managing expectation with a lot of folks. I mean, we're all taking these vehicles that were designed from the OEM factory to do a certain job, it's miles per gallon, everything else like that, and we're pushing these vehicles to the limit, right? So you have to assume that some of these OEM components aren't going to have the same lifespan
that they did in
that
OEM
they did
standards.
from an OEM standard. We're demanding more from them. So if you're using my product to get more power and performance out of your engine, you know, expect a slight drop off from the lifespan. You know, it might be 5% or 10%, but you know, it's a whole lot. I'll take 10% off of the lifespan of my plugs if I can get 60 more horse to the wheel. I mean, it's a lot more fun for the other 90%.
Exactly, and you're talking about $16 worth of parts in some case. It's like,
Yeah.
is that something you should really be concerned with, or just chalk it up to maintenance costs?
Yeah, it's a good question though.
Andrew says, would B&P be able to tune a 13 Ford Explorer Sport Twin Turbo 3.5 with BOOSTane?
I suppose the question is capability. Could we do it? Yeah. Is it something that I would currently do for someone that wasn't here on a dyno? No.
Tim says, how is BOOSTane in extreme freezing temperatures, minus 35 Celsius Canada? Can we keep it in the trunk?
I tell you what, our warehouse is in just outside of Grand Rapids, Michigan. It gets pretty damn cold up there. Negative 35°C. That's pretty good. I don't think you're gonna have any issues. But you know what? Reach out to us and send me an email. I can do that test and just to see, because I'm curious. I know what it does negative 10, negative 15, and we haven't ever had issues. I run this in the UP in snowmobiles, and I'll keep 2 cans of premium in my saddlebag or in my backpack, and I'm running through the snow on a weekend for a few days, and fuel's really bad way up there in the boondocks of the UP. So it does good there. Negative 35°C, I don't think you'll have an issue, but I'll test it for you just because I'm curious.
Do you have a specific email you want him to use?
You can just send it to Ian, IAN, at boostane.com.
Okay.
I just gave my personal email out on the internet.
You messed up. You messed up.
Another testimonial just came in. Ken says he's been running BOOSTane Professional now for a year and he loves it. Any chance on adding a viewing window on the can for measuring out the ounces accurately? That's just one suggestion.
I would love to. But like we said earlier, it is photosensitive. So any light that reaches the product, a little bit isn't going, it coming out of the can through the funnel, that's not going to be an issue. But exposed light will affect the quality and performance of the product. So we keep it nice and sealed and dark.
A tip for people that are wondering about how to do that. You know how kids will cap the top of a straw and pull the fluid out? Take a straw, put it all the way to the bottom, cap it with your finger, pull it out, hold it up next to the can, and you know how much you've removed.
That was genius. I didn't think of that ever.
Ian Payne wants to know, what cars do you have?
I have...
This is what makes you an expert, so be careful with this.
Yeah. So the 2 shop cars that I drive around are they're actually, you guys are gonna hate me. They're German.
I don't hate you.
A 996 Porsche Turbo and an AMG CLS, or
my man.
So turbo and blower and
so like a CLS 55 or CLS 63?
55.
Okay.
55. Okay. But the real fun car that everybody likes that we built and took out to SEMA is we have a 69 Charger with the 426, and we actually put one of our race boat blower motors on it.
Nice.
It's like a 1271. It makes around 1100 to the wheels. So it's
nice. On BOOSTane?
On BOOSTane, of course.
Marcus wants to know, can I run E30 or E15 in my 07 GT500?
I would recommend getting a tune for that and getting with us to verify that you have the fuel system to support that.
Says he's currently on 93.
Yeah.
Okay. Dalton wants to know, what about mixing BOOSTane with avgas?
So avgas is typically 100 low lead. We've had some customers. First of all, let me just don't put it in your. I can't recommend that you put it in your airplane if that's what you're going to do, because we're not regulated. We're not approved by the FAA. But we've had customers that have boosted 100 low lead, but understand that avgas has lead in it, and We also haven't done the knock engine testing with 100 low lead being the base fuel. So none of our ratios or mixing charts are going to have that specific ratio. And don't think that raising 93 to 96 is going to be the same ratio as raising 100 to 103. It's definitely, there's a curve to the mixing. It's much harder to raise higher octane values than starting with a lower octane value. So you just have to, you're going to have to, you know, go at it slow and
work at it.
And work at it.
Jeff Hackett says, what about going to fill up with airplane fuel, pros and cons?
Again,
Circling back to
I
avgas.
think we just kind of covered that. It's got
But
lead
for
in it.
some people don't know what avgas is, aviation fuel.
aviation fuel.
So airplane fuel.
They used to do it way back in the day because it was cheap and it was high octane fuel. But yeah, it has lead in it. So just know that it's not going to play nicely with certain engine internals.
Do we need to announce our giveaway?
You do need to announce your winners. That was coming next.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead and do that?
Sure.
All right, so Josh Walton is getting a swag bag, as well as Josh Homier, and the grand prize, EJ Lucas is getting.
He got rewarded for watching our show all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a tune and a case of BOOSTane, right? Tune
Nice.
update, a case of
Okay,
BOOSTane.
Lucas?
Yeah.
EJ Lucas.
He's
That's
on here a
awesome.
lot.
Congrats.
Okay. In case all the knowledge he's collected over the time that we've been doing the show isn't enough, now he gets
No, yeah,
door prizes.
that's the real
Yeah.
prize is looking at you guys every week.
Oh man,
Beautiful beard.
beards
No beard.
everywhere.
How much time we got left?
You're done.
We're done.
You're done.
We're
You're
well
out of
done.
time.
Well, thank you guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, thanks
yeah.
for coming.
And if you guys want to see BOOSTane on the show again or have any additional questions we didn't cover here, either reach out directly to the guys at BOOSTane or reach out to us. We'd be happy to help you get the answers you need to those questions, and then maybe we'll have Ian back here to do some more talking about fuels and
I'd love to.
additives and stuff.
Love to.
Sweet.
What are
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
swag winners?
We'll see everybody next time.
Have fun, guys.